Stop. Don't reply yet. Before you answer that message, that call, or that unexpected hey, understand this. Sometimes the person reaching out isn't coming back because they suddenly changed. They're coming back because your silence changed the power dynamic. They felt your absence, they noticed your distance, and now they're wondering whether they still have access to you. But this time, you cannot react emotionally. You have to move strategically, because what happens next depends on whether you respond from desperation or from self-respect. When someone who disappeared, ignored you, underestimated you, or walked away suddenly returns, your first instinct may be to celebrate. You may feel that rush in your chest, that sudden wave of excitement, and that thought you promised yourself you wouldn't have. They finally came back. Maybe you spent nights wondering whether they would ever contact you again. Maybe you replayed old conversations, questioned what went wrong, or secretly hoped that one day they would realize what they lost. So when the message finally appears, it can feel like confirmation that you were right all along. But stop. Don't let one message convince you that everything has changed. Their return is not automatically proof that they have transformed. Sometimes people come back because they genuinely recognize your value. But sometimes they return because they miss the attention you gave them. They miss your availability. They miss knowing that they could reach you whenever they wanted. They miss the comfort of having someone who cared deeply about them. And sometimes they simply want to know whether they still have access to you. That distinction matters, because if you immediately respond with all your emotions exposed, you may give them the exact reassurance they were looking for without receiving anything meaningful in return. They may send a simple hey, and suddenly you're explaining everything you felt, asking why they disappeared, telling them how much you missed them, and reopening a door that took tremendous strength to close. Don't do that. Pause. Give yourself enough time to separate emotion from reality. Ask yourself what actually changed. Did they change, or did the circumstances change? Did they take responsibility for what happened? Did they acknowledge the way they treated you? Are they returning with clarity, or are they simply testing whether you're still available? You don't need to assume the worst about them. You don't need to become cold or bitter. You simply need to become observant. Because your attention is valuable, your emotional energy is valuable, your time is valuable. And not everyone who returns deserves immediate access to all three. Think about how different your situation becomes when you stop reacting instantly. Instead of allowing their message to control your mood, you become the person watching the situation from a position of calm. You begin to notice details you might have missed before: the timing, the wording, the effort, the consistency, whether they follow through. Anyone can send a message. Anyone can say, "I miss you." Anyone can suddenly remember the good moments, but genuine change requires behavior. This is why you don't need to celebrate the reach out yet. Let it develop. Let reality reveal itself. If their intentions are sincere, patience won't destroy them. If they genuinely want to rebuild something, they will demonstrate it through consistent effort. And if they disappear simply because you didn't immediately give them the emotional reaction they expected, then you have learned something incredibly important without having to sacrifice your peace to discover it. Your job isn't to punish them. Your job isn't to make them jealous. Your job isn't to win some psychological game. Your job is to protect the growth you fought so hard to achieve. You have already survived the silence. You survived wondering. You survived the disappointment. You survived the moment when you realized you couldn't force someone to value you. So don't allow one unexpected notification to make you forget everything you learned. Maybe their return is meaningful. Maybe it isn't. You don't have to decide immediately. Let their actions answer the question. And remember this, someone reaching back toward you may be interesting, but it is not the same as someone becoming worthy of moving forward with you. You don't chase the explanation, you observe. You don't surrender your standards, you maintain them. And you don't respond because you're afraid of losing the opportunity. You respond only when you're certain you're not losing yourself. Don't confuse curiosity with genuine intention. This is one of the most important things you need to understand before you respond to someone who suddenly reappears in your life. Just because they reached out doesn't mean they are ready to rebuild something meaningful. Sometimes people become interested again simply because they notice your absence. They feel the difference when you're no longer available, no longer checking on them, no longer asking questions, and no longer giving them the same attention you once gave so freely. Suddenly, their curiosity wakes up. They start wondering what you're doing. They wonder why you became quiet. They wonder whether you've moved on. They may even begin asking themselves whether someone else has entered your life. And that curiosity can make them reach out. But curiosity is not commitment. A person can be curious about you without being prepared to respect you. They can miss you without being willing to change. They can think about you without having any serious intention of building something healthy with you. That's why you must stop allowing words to carry more weight than actions. A simple "hey" is easy. "I've been thinking about you" is easy. "I miss you" is easy. Even "I made a mistake" is easy to say. But what happens after those words? That's where the truth begins. Does the person show consistency? Do they communicate clearly? Do they acknowledge what happened? Do they take responsibility without making excuses? Do they respect your boundaries? Do they make an actual effort to rebuild trust instead of expecting you to forget everything overnight? These are the questions that matter, because anyone can return temporarily. The person who deserves another opportunity is the person willing to demonstrate why this time should be different. Don't let nostalgia make the decision for you. Nostalgia remembers the beautiful moments while conveniently forgetting the painful ones. It can make you remember the laughter, the conversations, the chemistry, and the connection while pushing the disappointment into the background. But growth requires you to remember the whole story. Remember what you tolerated. Remember what confused you. Remember the moments when you questioned your own worth because someone couldn't give you clarity. Remember how much energy you spent trying to understand behavior that should never have been so difficult to understand. You don't have to become suspicious of everyone who returns. You simply need to become discerning. There is a difference between being open-hearted and being easily accessible. There is a difference between forgiveness and giving someone unlimited access to you. There is a difference between hearing someone out and immediately trusting them again. You can listen without surrendering your standards. You can forgive without reopening the same door. You can care about someone without allowing them to disrupt your peace. And this is where your strength becomes visible. If their intentions are genuine, they won't be threatened by your boundaries. They won't pressure you to respond immediately. They won't become angry because you need time. They won't disappear simply because you didn't give them instant reassurance. They will understand that trust has to be rebuilt. They will understand that your time matters. They will understand that your heart isn't a revolving door. So before you reply, ask yourself one powerful question. Am I responding because I genuinely want to, or because their attention has awakened an old emotional attachment? That question can change everything, because you are no longer living from the version of yourself that desperately needed someone to choose you. You are becoming someone who chooses carefully. Let curiosity reveal itself. Let intention prove itself. Let consistency speak louder than promises. And never forget, someone being interested in getting your attention again is not the same thing as someone being prepared to handle your heart differently this time. Sometimes the most powerful response you can give is no response at all. Not because you are trying to manipulate someone, punish them, or make them nervous, but because silence gives you something that an emotional reaction cannot: information. When you immediately answer, you often become part of the situation before you have had a chance to understand it. Your emotions take over, your memories become louder, and suddenly you are reacting to a moment instead of observing the bigger picture. But when you pause, something changes. You create space. And inside that space, you can see things more clearly. Think about it. Someone reaches out after being distant. Maybe they disappeared without explanation. Maybe they stopped putting in effort. Maybe they treated your presence like something they could take for granted. Then suddenly, after days, weeks, or even months, their name appears on your screen. Your heart reacts immediately. You may feel excitement, you may feel anger, you may feel relief, you may even feel tempted to respond instantly just to find out why they came back. But don't let curiosity force you into action. Take a breath, let the moment pass, because what they do after you don't immediately respond can tell you more than their first message ever could. Do they make another respectful attempt to communicate? Do they explain themselves? Do they become more intentional? Do they show patience? Or do they become irritated because you didn't respond on their schedule? This is where observation becomes powerful. When someone genuinely cares about reconnecting, they usually understand that trust may not return instantly. They understand that their previous actions created consequences. They recognize that they cannot simply walk back into your life and expect everything to feel exactly the same. But someone who only wants access may react very differently. They may become impatient. They may send multiple messages demanding attention. They may suddenly disappear again because you didn't give them the reaction they wanted. And if that happens, don't chase them. Don't ask what you did wrong. Don't panic. You just received information. Their reaction told you something. Remember, silence doesn't create someone's character. It reveals it. Your boundary doesn't make someone disrespectful. Their reaction to your boundary reveals whether they respect you. This is why you don't need to interrogate people about their intentions. You can simply watch what they do. People can prepare perfect words. They can say exactly what you want to hear. They can make promises when emotions are high. But behavior is much harder to fake consistently. So slow down. Don't give someone immediate access to your emotions simply because they have finally decided to knock on the door. You have every right to pause before answering. You have every right to think. You have every right to decide whether the conversation deserves your energy. And most importantly, you have every right to change your mind. Maybe you eventually respond. Maybe you don't. The important thing is that the decision comes from clarity rather than pressure. You are no longer required to react just because someone expects a reaction from you. That is growth. The old version of you may have believed that every unanswered message was an emergency. The stronger version of you understands that peace can wait longer than curiosity. You don't need to know everything tonight. You don't need to solve the entire relationship in one conversation. You don't need to determine their entire intention from one sentence. Watch, listen, observe. Let time reveal what emotion tries to hide. And if their intentions are genuine, they will have no problem proving it through patience, consistency, accountability, and effort. If they aren't genuine, their behavior will eventually expose that too. Either way, you win because you didn't abandon yourself just to get an answer. Your silence isn't weakness. Your pause isn't fear. Your patience isn't playing games. It is self-control. And sometimes, the strongest person in the room isn't the one who responds the fastest. It's the one who has enough discipline to wait until they understand what they're responding to. You are not the same person they left behind. That is the truth you need to remember before you allow anyone from your past to step back into your present. While they were gone, you were changing. You were learning. You were becoming stronger in places nobody could see. They may remember the person you used to be, but they don't automatically have access to the person you have become. Maybe there was a time when you would have done anything to keep them around. You might have over-explained yourself, chased conversations, tolerated confusion, accepted inconsistent behavior, or constantly wondered what you needed to do to finally make them choose you. You may have believed that if you were more patient, more understanding, more available, or more forgiving, everything would eventually become stable. But something changed. You started choosing yourself. You learned that peace is not something you should sacrifice just to keep someone interested. You learned that love without respect becomes exhausting. You learned that attention without consistency means very little. And most importantly, you learned that you don't have to convince someone of your value. That lesson changed you. So if they return, Don't automatically return to the emotional position you occupied when they left. That's where many people make the mistake. Someone from the past appears again, and suddenly they become the person they used to be. They forget all the lessons they learned during the separation. The memories rush back. The old emotions return. They start imagining how things could have been. And before they realize it, they are once again accepting the same behavior they promised themselves they would never tolerate again. Don't let nostalgia erase your growth. Remember who you became when you had to survive without them. Remember the strength you discovered. Remember the confidence you rebuilt. Remember the mornings when you had to motivate yourself because nobody else was doing it. Remember the nights when you had to sit with your own thoughts and still decide that tomorrow would be better. That version of you deserves respect. You cannot honor your growth while constantly returning to the situations that required you to grow in the first place. This doesn't mean you should become cold. It doesn't mean you should reject everyone who makes a mistake. People can change. Relationships can sometimes be repaired. Second chances can exist. But a second chance should be given to changed behavior, not familiar words. If they truly want to reconnect, let them meet the person you are now. Don't shrink yourself to make them comfortable. Don't lower your standards because you're afraid they might leave again. Don't pretend nothing happened just because you're happy to see their name on your screen, and don't feel guilty for requiring clarity. You have permission to move slowly. You have permission to ask questions. You have permission to observe. You have permission to say, "This no longer works for me." The person you have become does not need to prove anything. You don't need to convince them that you are valuable. Your life is already the evidence. Your discipline is evidence. Your peace is evidence. Your growth is evidence. And if someone wants a place in your life now, they must connect with the person you are today, not manipulate you into becoming the person you used to be. So when they reach out, don't ask only, "Do I still have feelings for them?" Ask something deeper. Does this person fit the life I have built? Do their actions match the standards I now live by? Does reconnecting with them bring clarity or confusion? Am I moving forward or am I being pulled backward by familiarity? Those questions will protect you, because your greatest victory isn't making someone regret losing you. Your greatest victory is becoming someone who no longer abandons themselves when that person comes back. You have changed. You have grown. You have learned, and this time if someone wants access to your life, they don't get the old version of you simply because they remember how to reach you. They have to earn their place beside the new you. Let their actions earn your response. This is where you stop listening only to what someone says and start paying attention to what they consistently do. When a person suddenly returns to your life, their words may sound beautiful. They may say they miss you. They may tell you they have been thinking about everything. They may apologize. They may promise that things will be different this time. And maybe they mean every word in that moment. But sincerity in one moment is not the same thing as transformation over time. You don't have to reject their words. You simply don't have to build your future on them. Give behavior the opportunity to speak. If someone genuinely wants to rebuild trust, they will understand that trust cannot be demanded. It has to be earned. They will show patience when you need time. They will respect the boundaries you establish. They will communicate instead of disappearing. They will take responsibility instead of blaming circumstances. And most importantly, their effort will continue after the excitement of reconnecting fades. That's what you should watch. Because anyone can behave perfectly for a few hours. Anyone can send a powerful message at midnight. Anyone can promise the world when emotions are high. But consistency reveals character. Don't become impressed by intensity. Become impressed by consistency. You don't need someone who suddenly becomes obsessed with getting you back. You need someone who understands why they lost your trust and is willing to demonstrate that they have changed. And remember, you don't owe anyone immediate forgiveness simply because they apologized. You can forgive someone and still maintain distance. You can care about someone and still decide they are not healthy for your life. You can accept an apology without accepting the same behavior again. You can wish someone well without reopening the door. That is not bitterness. That is wisdom. Your life has taught you that access should mean something. Not everyone who knocks deserves to come inside. Not everyone who misses you deserves another opportunity. And not everyone who regrets losing you is prepared to value you properly. So don't let loneliness make the decision. Don't let nostalgia make the decision. Don't let curiosity make the decision. Let character make the decision. Watch how they treat you when you don't immediately give them what they want. Watch how they communicate when things become uncomfortable. Watch whether they respect your no. Watch whether their effort remains consistent when there is nothing immediate to gain. Those moments reveal far more than romantic words ever could. And if they prove themselves, you can decide what comes next. But if they don't, you don't need to chase them for an explanation. Their inconsistency is the explanation. Their lack of effort is the explanation. Their repeated behavior is the explanation. Sometimes closure doesn't arrive in a beautiful conversation. Sometimes closure arrives when you finally stop ignoring what someone's behavior has been telling you all along. So if they reach out, don't panic, don't rush. Don't immediately hand them the keys to a door they once walked away from. Stand where you are. Remember who you became. Remember what you learned. And then decide from a place of strength. Because the real victory isn't making someone come back. The real victory is becoming so secure within yourself that whether they come back or not, you remain whole. If they return with genuine effort, let their actions demonstrate it. If they return with empty words, let time expose it. If they disappear again, let them go without chasing. And if they prove that they have truly changed, you still get to decide whether their new behavior belongs in your new life. You are not obligated to give access simply because someone finally realizes your value. Your attention is earned. Your trust is earned, your peace is protected, and your future is yours. So stop waiting for their message to determine how you feel about yourself. You already know your worth. You don't need their return to validate it. Let them reach out. Let them speak. Let them demonstrate. And then, when you are ready, you decide whether they deserve a response. This time, you are not reacting from fear of losing them. You are choosing from confidence in yourself. And that is the difference between the old you and the person you have become.